Hello. We're back online. Everything is working as it should. We're terribly sorry you missed the presentation by James Hughes, but don't you worry, he will be joining us later today. So you definitely get to hear him, and we're really, really pleased about that. But without further ado, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce and welcome back Ruthy Kaidar, the Chief Startup Lead for Microsoft for Central Eastern Europe. And she will be talking about how boundaries drive us to creativity. So please give a very warm welcome to Ruthy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ruthy Kaidar. I'm the Chief Startups Lead at Microsoft, covering Central Eastern Europe. And today I want to talk to you about creativity. So not just about creativity, but what drives us to creativity and how boundaries, and especially all the boundaries that we are facing these days, how that drives us to even more creativity. So kind of sounds funny, right? I mean, like in these times, but you'd be surprised. Um, I'll start with the story. So 10 years ago, I decided I want to be an entrepreneur. Actually, I didn't really decide it. It was kind of burning in me, right? It was something that I felt like I had to do it. You know, it's like when you feel like you really need to do something, that's when I really felt I need to do it. I just finished working for a startup, a medical device startup called Medingo, which I joined right at it when it was founded. The company developed medical devices, a miniature insulin pump, and a glucose sensor. I was in charge of the sensing, and the company was sold to Roche for $200 million. And my whole entire being was like, I want to do this. Next time it's mine. So I decided I want to be an entrepreneur. And the first thing I had to let go of is certainty, because I had a good job. And this meant I'm not going to have a job. I'm not going to have security. I may not have an income. And the second thing I needed is people who believed in me. So my husband is like, yeah, go for it. We can do this, you know. And everybody around me was very supportive. And I think those two things kind of allowed me to let go of the certainty. The reason I'm also bringing certainty is because now, especially now at these times when there is so much uncertainty, actually, we can see it as a blessing. And when we let go of the need for certainty, amazing things happen. The second thing I felt I needed to let go of is self-doubt, because I said, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't have an idea for a startup. What do I do? I started connecting with entrepreneurs, and I said, okay, I'm not the person with the idea. Let me find people with ideas. And I started meeting people from all over, the country. I'm from Israel, looking for ideas, people who kind of needed somebody to execute, because I'm a really good executor. And I never thought I was the person with ideas. I guess I had some kind of self-doubt in me. And then the more I was in that environment of creativity and can you see my screen? Yeah, okay. Creativity and ideas and entrepreneurship, suddenly the ideas started popping up in my head. And suddenly I found myself thinking of an idea for a startup, like on a daily basis. So that's the other thing that I think you should think about. Just let go of all that self-doubt, because you have it in you, because we all have it we all have it in us. The end of the story I'll continue later, but right now what I want to share, I think I have a little bit of a connection problem, okay, is the Microsoft story, because Microsoft actually is all about innovation and all about creativity. So let me just start where we all started, right? So everybody knows, Bill Gates, Paul Allen, but how did it really start? So every large company has its own origin story, right? Like Netflix started after Reed Hastings was charged $40, with late fees for a copy of Apollo 13. And Boeing was born when William Boeing got retired and got tired of waiting for new parts to arrive for his cracked plane. And Facebook, we all know the stories about being started at Harvard. And I'm not sure all of you know the real Microsoft story. So it all started when Paul Allen read an article in Popular Electronics that there's new Altair 8800, 8800, and he took it to his best friend Bill Gates, and he said to Bill Gates, "Why don't we write a basic interpreter for the Altair?" And Bill is all, "Oh my God, we can do this." So he said, "I'm gonna write a new interpreter for this Altair 8800, 8800, and let us sell it to the company." And actually, they pitched it to the company. They didn't have the product. They didn't have the code. They didn't even know how it's going to work. But actually, they got the deal. So they took a couple of really big bets, right? And they said, "Wow, first of all, we have a vision, right? We think that we can take this piece of hardware and we can add software to it. We haven't written the code yet. We don't know who's the market going to be. And honestly, we don't even have the hardware to test it on. But you know what? We're going to take this risk." Now, is it really a risk? Did they risk anything? Actually, what they did is take a risk by saying, "We're going to believe this is going to happen because we believe in the fact that our vision is right and that we can do this." And I think if there's anything you take from this presentation is, whenever you are at this cross point of should I do something or not, always look at what you have to gain. And looking at that positive side of things, especially now, makes you have a totally different perspective of what really is the risk and what is really not really a risk. So after they landed that deal, Bill Gates came up, or they both came up with the vision of Microsoft. Because Bill, his dream was to put a computer on every desk at every home. And we all know that dream came true, and we all know the story behind that. And actually, that underlying notion and mindset of investing in innovation and a vision and doing things that are bold, that are optimistic, that are thinking about scale, that has been the ground of Microsoft throughout the 40 plus years. Today, we actually invest $12 billion in R&D. And we invest in 4 different types of areas. We want the innovations to be bold, okay? But that doesn't matter what size they are. We want them to be optimistic and inclusive, especially at these times. Inclusiveness is something that really comes to mind. We want things to be grounded in trust, and we want them to be executed at scale. I'll talk about that in a minute. And since our relatively new CEO, Satya Nadella, took the role, he branded a new vision and mission for Microsoft, which is more aligned with how we see things today, because we already have a personal computer on each desk. But what Microsoft wants to do today is empower every person, every organization on the planet to achieve more. How? We keep thinking bold, regardless of size. And I'll give an example for that. We are optimistic and inclusive, right? We all are thinking about all the societies that are isolated, alone, don't have access, and to me at least, this drives a lot of creativity on how can I help? What can I do? But it's not enough how can I help and what can I do? It's a lot about what can I do to scale that will make an impact. Grounded in trust. Let's talk about that for a minute. We all hear about different applications and different governments, doing tracking and checking and testing. And this raises a lot of questions, right? What is right? What is wrong? How do I feel about this? Do I feel comfortable? What's going to happen afterwards, after this is done? So these questions about, trust, privacy, these are things that we have to keep asking ourselves. And make sure that anything we do, any creative thought that we have, we put that boundary of trust in it, because that boundary of trust sounds maybe like a boundary in the beginning, but actually it's what's going to make such an application or solution or whatever it is really be applicable to everybody. Because when something is grounded in trust, it's relevant to everybody. And then finally, scale. We really want to make sure we execute at scale. It's not enough to think about, let me just find a solution for, a small group of people. Of course it is, right? But when you think scale, then that is something that can go from your small community or your family to your community, to your city, to your country, to the world. And we see what a small world the world really is currently. So think about how boundaries and whatever limitations we have and whatever, thinking, and frustrations and uncertainty we have, if we do invent, let's make sure we invent with purpose. We need to invent not only for the now, but also for the future. So anything you do, make sure it is future ready. Not only now ready, future ready. The companies who are future ready are the ones that are going to come out of this situation on their 2 feet. Build on your terms. You don't have to change your terms, and your values for somebody else. Even if you're asked to, even if they're the people with the money, you need to build something that you believe in, that is right for you, your values and what you believe in and your vision. Operate hybrid, but make sure it's seamless. Not everything can be on cloud. Most of the things can be on cloud. Almost everything can be on cloud. Whatever is on cloud today, we can use it, right? We are bounded to our homes. We are bounded to, our small quarters. But suddenly the cloud connects us to the world. But sometimes there are things that can't be on cloud, especially around, privacy. So make sure there are so many solutions out there that can make everything seem to be on cloud, but they're actually hybrid, and making that seamless is key. And then finally, trust your cloud. When you build for the future to scale and to trust, make sure that your cloud is a cloud that you trust. I want to give a couple examples very quickly. First of all, about thinking bold. So Project Natick. So this started actually as a white paper. So once a year, we get together as a company and we do a 1-week hackathon across the company for really, really innovative solutions. This started as a white paper, thinking, okay, where companies are shifting to the cloud. There's a growing demand for data centers. Where can we place data centers where, it doesn't hurt nature? Oh, the ocean. There's like half of the world's population lives with 120 miles of a coast. So what do we do? So Project Natick's goal was to manufacture and operate environmentally sustainable pre-packaged data center units that can be ordered to size, rapidly deployed, and left to operate lights out on the seafloor for years. So the idea is an underwater data center that you can put in the water. It cools itself because the data center is one of the things that they need is cooling, and it can live there for years. So this is an example of how the Natick team is making dreams a reality. First, they're leveraging the technology from submarines, right? So a lot of the technologies this was built on is how submarines work, which is big pressure vessels that work underwater. And then a lot of complex data management, okay, and processing technology, and strict requirements for electricity, volume, weight, thermal balance, and all the engineering around it. And eventually, you build this thing and then you put it into the ocean where the heat exchange and the cooling process is very efficient. Where are we now? We actually have a proof of concept, and we have one data center or one Natick deployed in the Northern Isles off the coast of Scotland. And we hope to create more of these after we test this for a while. So this is thinking bold. This is somebody's idea that made them think bold and think, how can I take the boundaries of the world and take technology to empower us and build something totally scalable and totally out of this world. Another idea that came out of another Hack Week, by the way, we had, is our Xbox adaptive controller. I don't know how many of you know this, but and the best thing to do is show a movie, but this platform, I'm not sure, a movie would play right. So I'll share the link with you later. And then maybe the last thing I want to share with you guys is this slide. So the idea here is the industry that we live in doesn't respect tradition, it only respects innovation. The new realities we face are constantly changing. So when you have an idea and you think that you're a startup that builds something innovative, bold, with trust, and can really scale, we'd love to work with you. If you're a social entrepreneurship startup and you think you can build creative solutions that serve social causes, we'd love to work with you. So bring your creativity, your vision, and scale, and see you all soon. Thank you very much.